Hi, I'm sitting here with Reve Schneider with Femme de Coupe. Reve, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I know that Femme de Coupe, you guys do different sorts of mixology classes and help with event services. But I'd like for you to tell me a little bit more about exactly what you do and how everything got started.
Yeah, so currently we teach a lot of mixology classes, as you say, simply about how to make cocktails at home. Really not for mixologists, it's for people that would like to think that they're mixologists or want to aspire to. And then we do sort of mixology catering where we'll go bartend at events, and then we do different recipe development for different restaurants and bars in the Chicagoland area. And then we also have a product line which we're working on getting onto the market.
And the product line, that's your syrups?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's called Les Sirop by Femme de Coupe. And it's a line of all natural cocktail mixers, I guess you could say, that we make for different restaurants and bars currently, and then have a few different flavors, and hopefully you'll see it on store shelves soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did Femme de Coupe get started?
That's such a funny story. So Femme de Coupe, I was living and working in Miami, and ended up getting laid off in 2009, sort of like everybody else, you know. And when I got laid off, I spent about 6 months down in Miami, and then about 6 months here looking for a job, and then ended up finally having to swallow my pride, and took a bartending job just until a real job came along, and ended up kind of falling in love with it. Ended up meeting my mentor, and then took a class about mixology and kind of alcohol, and ended up getting hired at Gilt Bar, which is a classic cocktail bar here, which was kind of like learning the ABCs of bartending, and didn't stay there very long because I started doing really well in cocktail competitions and ended up getting noticed by a restaurant called Union Sushi and Barbecue Bar.
Okay.
In River North, so I helped them open their beverage program. And then about 3-4 months into that, I was actually on a date, and the guy that I was on a date with said to me, you know, you make such great drinks. I just moved into the new condo. Could you show me how I could shop for my bar at home and how I could make cocktails at home? And to me, a light went off. You know, I was a personal shopper for Marc Jacobs when I lived in Miami, and then I was like, why couldn't I just marry the two things that I love, shopping and booze? So he didn't really think it was the best idea. We never went out again, but that's how I got the idea to start the company. You never know who you're going to meet and what ideas you'll get from different people, but
that's hysterical,
right?
And you never think that. I mean, I know that I bartended as well throughout college, and you never think that being a bartender it's gonna lead to anything,
right?
And so how did you? I mean, how is that working out for you guys now?
Well, it's so funny because like when I got here and I was working at a sports bar, and I was bartending with a bunch of different girls, and they would always say to me, why are you taking these classes? What do you think you'll get out of it? And I was like, I don't know. I just find it really interesting. I don't know where it'll go. But, I have to say, bartending was fun. And I actually was behind the bar less than 8 months before I launched the company. So it was just kind of something that I thought, there had a place. And I frankly did get a little bit of flack from people in the industry because I hadn't put my time in.
Yeah.
But I just decided to go for it and see what happened. Quit my job 2 weeks after I launched the company to see what happens, and 4 years later, here we are.
You're right. There are so many different like cocktail programs. I know caps that we spoke about earlier. But you're right. Just it's a weird eye if you're not putting in your time.
Yeah. So I mean, I just think there's a huge consumer angle that because of all the legalities around alcohol that brands aren't necessarily able to put forward, and a lot of mixologists spend their days talking to other mixologists and don't really understand where primarily my clientele is female, and if I'm outnumbered 10-to-1 behind the bar from a male to female ratio, and then you're always talking to people, because it took me a little while to kind of get acclimated as a mixologist to talking to people that had never opened a shaker and never used a strainer, all of those sort of things, to kind of figure out how to relate how I learn to how most people who've never done this before learn. So I think it's just kind of like apples and oranges. It's not that I'm I feel like a lot of times when we teach classes, we're talking to you versus talking over you, which is occasionally what can happen if somebody spends their days talking to somebody who's just as knowledgeable as they are, whereas a lot of people that are, consumers, frankly, I don't even care about that it was aged 10 years and in French oak. Like, come on.
Right.
The reality is, does it taste good or not? That's it.
So what does your client base kind of look like? Who are you guys working with? Who are you guys doing these classes for?
Our weeks are primarily taken up by, I would say, corporate events.
Okay.
We work with Google, we work with Bain and Company, we work with, kind of all the a lot of different digital brands, a lot of advertising agencies, and then the weekends are always filled with bachelor parties.
Very fun. I bet those kind of get a little rowdy.
Yeah, there's some things I probably would not be able to say.
I was going to say, share us a story.
Oh, yeah, I don't think that
There's a contract for that. I'd love to learn a little bit more about your syrups and kind of what makes yours different from standard ones that you'll find in a bar.
Yeah, I think that most syrups on the market today aren't necessarily made with actual natural ingredients. It's natural flavoring, but there's a big difference between natural flavoring and actual natural ingredients. Mm-hmm. And they also typically use high fructose corn syrup just because it's cheaper. I personally am allergic to high fructose corn syrup. And, when I started, the whole reason that I started making the syrups was simply because all of these classes, as a mixologist coming in, it was second nature to make flavored syrups. Yeah. And so everybody that was attending the classes were like, well, where do you buy the syrups? And I was like, I don't know, I just make them. Like, don't you know how to make syrup? Yeah. They're like, no. So I finally, after about a year of people asking me time and time again, well, where do I buy these syrups? I was like, maybe I should sell these. Yeah. So that's kind of where it came out of, all of these different classes. And so now today, the intention when I launched the brand was to do just seasonal collections, but now we sort of have a base collection, and then eventually we'll do seasonal flavors. But right now, it's just the classic ones.
Very cool.
That are all seasons.
Okay. So, and people can buy these online?
Currently online.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm curious, kind of, what were some challenges you faced in the beginning phase of this idea versus now?
Well, I think the biggest, I think it weighed in my favor, but how blissfully unaware of how hard it would be, because I didn't ever work in like a real 9-to-5 job. I didn't go to college, and I thought I did my research, but I didn't really do my research. So, it worked out because I thought I knew what I was doing, but I had no idea what I was doing, and to persevere through that has been probably the best thing that I ever could have done for myself. And, sitting for a year basically eating ramen noodles and having to figure out how to pay rent and all of that was quite an interesting process, I will say, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
And who are some of your key influencers that have helped you?
So I was lucky enough that, when I was working at the sports bar, I made friends with a lot of the people that would come to the bar and sit down. And one guy in particular, we became friends on Facebook. And when I launched the company, I'd sent him like a message on Facebook, just, oh, this is what I'm doing now, please like my page. And I launched the company in October, and I think in December he sent me a message and was like, hey, what is this? What are you doing? Do you mind, can I take you to coffee just to chat about it? And I was like, yeah, whatever. And so, at this time I was like, free coffee, yes, I'll take it. It's not ramen noodles. So he was like, do you know what I do? And I was like, I have no idea. You get drunk at the bar? Right. He's like, I'm actually in a venture capital. Do you know what that is? I was like, nope. So, and he said to me, I get brands that come across my desk every day that are asking me to give them money and give them money to grow their business. And I have to say, you're not even approaching me, but what I've seen of your company and the branding that you've done, it's in the top 10 of companies that I've ever seen. And I was like, really? He's like, I really think that you're onto something. I think you're way ahead of the curve, and I think you don't even realize it yet. He's like, I don't know how I can help you, but I'd like to see what I can, potentially offer as, any advice, any strategy, whatever, to help you, see this through. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. And, little did I know how much of an effect that would have on me and the business in general, and my train of thought and how I would proceed. So I think that that's probably been the most instrumental thing that has happened. And we're really great friends now because of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's not every day that a VC approaches you.
No, yeah. They're not funding the company yet, but
Right.
Still to just have somebody on your side like that sees companies every day, that sees people trying to raise money, that sees has a finger on the pulse of really what's going on is quite interesting.
And I think another thing that kind of startups experience in general is a lack of mentorship.
Yeah.
So if you find it as early on as you did, I think success is just going to
Yeah, and I think that for as many hard times as I went through, to be able to understand that, he said, you have to go through it. You have to do it yourself. I can tell you what my experience, hearing other people's experiences has been, but until you go through it, you'll never understand it. And he is absolutely right. So I think, it's been somebody that's, guiding me, but not holding, not necessarily holding my hand, which has been really nice.
So something I like to close with is, what's a piece of advice that someone has shared with you along your way that's helped in your journey?
I think the biggest thing is, probably the biggest piece of advice that I've ever gotten was, if it's not what you're passionate about, quit. If you think that you really don't want to do this, quit and see what you can find that's better than what you're doing and what fulfills you more. Go do it and see if you really actually 'cause the thing is, for all the times that I wanted to quit and wanted to give up, I couldn't think of anything else that I'd rather be doing.
Right.
So if there's something else that you'd rather be doing that you think that is that much more important and could affect your life that much more dramatically, or if it's just easier, go do it.
So what's the drive behind why you do what you do?
So that's, I think, one of the first things that my advisor wanted me to figure out, because there's a lot of people that can tell you what they do, but there's not a lot of people that can tell you why they do what they do. And it took me a really long time to figure it out. But, I think if you break it down, and when I thought about why I wanted to start the company, it wasn't because I wanted to, get my name out there. It was simply to provide a better drinking experience for you, for me, just being able to say, oh, I kind of remember that party, but we had such a good time that, it's a little bit fuzzy. Or, I think that especially as a woman, you like to be a homemaker and you like to show off a little bit. And, anybody can open a bottle of wine or pour a beer, but it's not everybody that can make a cocktail and make one that really tastes good. Because the reality is, when was the last time you went to a house party and had a cocktail that you were like, this is so good, versus and putting it to the side.
And it's sexy too.
Right, totally, yeah. So I think it's more about providing, better experiences rather than just simply opening up a bottle of wine or beer.
Amazing. Well, I'm coming to your mixology class tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to see what the experience is like.
Cool.
And help spread the word.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah,
I
thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
And I look forward to speaking with you in the future.
Cheers.
Cheers.